Alright everyone, how we doing? Given that our last couple of videos to come from Philadelphia have both been inside a pub, a very good pub by the way, the Plough and the Star, I did think that for today's video, our final one coming from America, it might be nice to come out and about and let you see a little bit of Philadelphia, and I do mean a little bit. Behind me, I don't know if you can even see, I believe is Independence Hall. Good bit of history there, I guess. And it's a big day to be in Philadelphia. It's just after 8 o'clock in the morning. It's very quiet, but it's a very big day for the city. You may be aware that the Super Bowl is on this evening. Super Bowl LVII, which I'm led to believe is 57. It's the Kansas City Chiefs up against the Philadelphia Eagles. And as you can probably tell from this top, that's who I'm supporting. It's crazy when you're walking around here. There's just like every other person you see is sporting the colours of the Eagles, and it just so happens that they wear green. Buildings are lit up in green in the evening. I'm telling myself that's because of Celtic. Of course it is more so because of the Eagles, but it fits nonetheless. So go Birds, yeah, that's apparently what they're saying. So we're looking forward to that tonight. Today on the channel we're going to have a little bit of a chat about Celtic's game yesterday, and then have probably the rest of the video spent talking about the Plough Bhoys CSC 10th anniversary Fela, which is taking place this weekend, and that they very kindly invited me to. So yeah, something a little bit different for you today. Just starting off with some chat from yesterday. Hope you enjoyed the reaction with me and Sean from the Plough Bhoys. Good result yesterday. I mean, I think Celtic can play better than that, yet we still scored 5 goals. St Mirren played well and lost 5-1, so that just shows you, the firepower we have at the moment and the impact the subs are making. I think that was a big point yesterday. The 3 subs that came on in the 60-minute mark all scored, so that was brilliant. One of the players that scored yesterday, Matt O'Reilly, actually spoke to the media after what was his first goal, I think in like 9 months or something. I think his previous goal had been the home game against Hearts back in May when we had effectively won the league. It was a great goal he scored yesterday, and I know he's been trying all year and it's been getting to him, and you could tell from his reaction that there was probably a fair bit of relief in there as well that he has managed to finally bag this season. Speaking to the media after the game, O'Reilly said, "It was nice because the goal has been a long time coming. I think I've had about 365 shots, so it was good to see one go in. I'm just happy whenever I get on the pitch. I always try to contribute, and thankfully I did this time. Our strength and depth was evident, but it shows most weeks." While Matt O'Reilly's goal did kind of feel like his first for the club because it had been so long, it certainly was the first for O, who bagged our 3rd goal yesterday. A clinical one-touch finish, I'll call it. Some people would maybe call it a tap-in. I thought he showed good instinct. The thing I loved about the goal is when you're watching McGregor kind of weaving and getting the shot away, always like tugging onto the guy's some defender's shirt the whole way, jostling, and then he just anticipates the rebound so well. The keeper, I think Carson, his name is, should do much better, but it's really good movement from O. I'm delighted that he's got a goal so early in his career. He's probably only played like an hour for the club combined so far, so for him to have scored already is great news. He didn't really know how to celebrate, but he did kind of make up for that later in the day on Instagram by saying, "Thank you for your support. I was able to score this goal thanks to the fans, the manager, all the team staff and teammates. I will do my best to score as many as possible in future. Thank you." Buzzing for him. I think he'll get a wee bit more game time going forward as well, which would be good news. That may depend on what the situation is with Kyogo. I think it's fair to say people were pretty concerned when he was taken off, about 15-20 minutes into the game yesterday. The news does seem to be good. I think we're still waiting on scan results, as Ange said after the game. Ange also said he's a quick healer, so I guess there doesn't seem to be too much worry there from Ange. Who knows, maybe O scoring has kind of eased some concerns there anyway. We'd certainly want Kyogo fit for some big games coming up, not least the cup final at the end of the month. I think it was reported as well by the broadcasters Viaplay yesterday that the substitution was precautionary as well, which is obviously good news. So hopefully Keogh goes back for next weekend against Aberdeen. If not, we get a chance to see O in action probably. Just on Ange, because I mentioned some comments from him there, he was in terrific form after the game. He kind of did that thing that Viaplay seemed to be doing, Premier Sports did it a bit, where they invite the manager into a kind of discussion with the pundits they've had on for the game. It's Chris Evolumo and Gordon Strachan, and I just loved the whole dynamic between Ange and Gordon Strachan, a wee bit of banter on Gavin Strachan losing weight as well. I would love to spend 5 minutes in the company of those two. The chat would be amazing, and obviously two really successful Celtic managers, so that was good. Speaking to the press as well, Ange was in very good form. Poor old Keredine Idisan from the BBC got it when he asked whether Celtic fans could expect to see a bit of a spending spree after our pretty impressive financial figures the other day. Ange replied to him saying, "I'm pretty sure you're smarter than that. That's not how it works. I think it's stated pretty clearly they are interim results, and as basic as my accounting is, I'm well aware of what we have at our disposal. My role within that is to make sure that the hard-earned money in this club, and it's all hard-earned, I invest wisely. That's what I'm focused on. P.S. I'm not an accountant, mate." Added that last wee bit on. But yeah, Ange in good form after having a wee week off. John Kennedy taking the media duties, I think it's fair to say. Ange is refreshed and ready to go again. And so are Celtic. We're into the last 8 of the Scottish Cup, also known as the quarter-finals, where there's going to be a double draw tomorrow night at Hampden. They're going to do the men's quarter-final draw as well as the women's quarter-final draw. And the Celtic women, Fran Alonso's side, are also into the last 8. The game is actually going on at the moment, but I think they're 2-0 up after about 18 minutes over Boroughmuir they're playing, so double Celtic interest in the draw tomorrow. That's where we'll leave the Celtic chat for now, because it's been a very fun weekend for me in America. I know you're all not jealous at all. At the Plough Bhoys CSC 10th anniversary Fela, so many events going on all the weekend from Thursday night until this morning, effectively, as I'm recording this. Filled with joy, like the Rocky Steps on Friday.
Here. What the hell do we care? What the hell do we care? Hail! Hail! The Celts are here. What the hell do we care now?
We've also had some pretty touching moments, like yesterday at the blessing for John the Scarf Lennon at the Irish Memorial in Philadelphia, which was led by a piper. I didn't actually get to meet the Scarf as he's known, but I feel like I have from the amount of folk that I've spoken to yesterday who spoke so well of him, and such a great Celtic man, such a great caring man. I believe he brought about one of the first ever Celtic supporters clubs in Canada. The club actually did an interview with him back in 2017 that I was watching earlier. It's just fantastic. And I'll link that in the description as well for you to give it a watch. But an incredible guy and a brilliant tribute from the Plough Boys and everyone else in attendance yesterday. Have a wee watch.
Christ when I lie down, Christ when I sit down, Christ when I arise, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in the eye that sees me, Christ in the eye that hears me.
The scarf's looking down on you.
The only thing I would say about John would be, if you met him, he made you a better person.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
So yeah, really touching stuff there. That happened just before the game. We then all fired back to the pub. There were so many people packed in that pub, upstairs, downstairs, all watching the game, all enjoying Celtic. It was like being at any pub in Glasgow before a game, or even at Celtic Park during the game. I really enjoyed it, and they then had a real dark moment for the Plough Boys as well after that, as they inexplicably asked me to host a question and answer session with former Celt George McCluskey, who was on the channel on Friday. Check that video out. And Joe Mackin from the Kano Foundation, who I dare say most of you, if not all, will know about the great work they did. So that was excellent as well. We've had dancing as well. There was raffles, there's been just so much drink consumed, obviously not by me, and just more than anything, just Celtic fans around the world congregating, enjoying themselves, chatting about the club, and even though so many of them live so far away from Glasgow, they don't really feel distant because they've got this brilliant community. But don't take it from me, have a wee watch at some of the people I've spoken to over the weekend.
So what's the Celtic story here? Who wants to kick us off? How do you know each other? How do you love Celtic?
Well, I met him through the club, actually. So I watched a documentary called Celtic Soul, and they kind of go about the history of the club. Both my great-grandparents immigrated from Ireland, and when I found out about the history of the club and that it was founded for impoverished Irish immigrants in Glasgow's East End, it just kind of just made sense. And I've been following them ever since. I love what the club stands for, the history and the values, and I met him. This is actually, I don't have a supporters club in Delaware, so this is the closest one for me. So found out about it, came down here for a game, met Matt, and it's been great ever since.
So tell us a little bit about your Celtic story, guys.
So I found out about Celtic. My name's Sean. That's Patrick. We're from Pittsburgh. And
How far away is that?
about 4.5 hours. Yeah. So we drove in on Friday for the Fela. We have a supporters group in Pittsburgh that started in 20, and it started in the backyard of one of my buddies. 3 of us during that fateful season, and we watched every match, and no matter if it was like 13 degree weather in February, snow, ice. We did it all, and then just start kind of. Now we have about almost like 50 members.
We're just talking about how the club ballooned through word of mouth, like people who were Celtic supporters tangentially. I liked Celtic when I was coming up, and I thought they were a great club. They had a great story, but I wasn't like a hardcore supporter. And then I met one of our mutual friends, and he was like, "Hey, do you like Celtic?" And I'm like, "I do like Celtic." And he's like, "Hey, do you want to come watch the club?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come out at 7 in the morning. I don't care."
How did you find that? Because I got up for a game in Australia at 3:30 in the morning, and I hated it. So
it's the shits.
Well,
but it is.
But
it's a very communal experience.
Chairman of the Charities Committee, Plough Bhoys Celtic Supporters Club, Philadelphia.
Right, so Joe, tell me the story. This weekend, there's so many people here. They've come from all over. How many states did you say? How many?
Here's what's amazing. It's 3 continents, 7 nations, and 11 states in America. And my point to this is, I'm not sure Celtic understands how big their support is in America.
Right. So I came here, and I must admit, it's blown me away seeing so many people here. But just to explain a little bit, I mean, it's obviously not as busy as this all the time, but there's always a real community in various parts watching Celtic games.
I tell you what, not to talk crap about Livy, but a midweek match against Livy still draws 24 people.
Wow.
European match times 2. This pan around. Again, our club needs to understand how big the sport is in America. I think if they figured that out, find reasons to send players over, do charity matches, forget the English Premier League. It's about Celtic.
My name is Sean McMullen. I'm originally from Carnlough, County Antrim, right up in the north of Ireland, not too far away from Scotland, right? Been over here in the States for the last 33 years. Kind of left Ireland as a wee boy, became a big man now.
Join the club. I'm in there as well. So you're over here. I believe you even started a Celtic supporters club back in the day.
Yes,
right.
yes. started a Celtic Supporters Club. It was called the Anglesey Celtic Supporters Club. We started off in 1997. And it was really crazy because we were kind of starved for Celtic games. It was shortwave radio. The bar where I worked, they had a satellite TV. It was really for NFL football, you know. And I was just playing on it one day just to see if there's any old sites on it, like late night, you know. And all of a sudden I see this game, and I recognise I think it was Archie McPherson. He was doing some commentary, and it was Rangers versus Dundee United.
Okay.
And I said, happy days, but not too happy. You know, like so if they're showing the Rangers game, they've got to show the Celtic game. So we further exploring, and the next game up was I think it was Celtic v Hibs or something like that. There. So I called the lads and said, hey, listen, it's televised for, it was actually a live game that was coming up.
Yeah.
And it was the early days of Fox Sports in this country.
Okay.
And Canada, you know, so I guess they were taking some of the feeds from Sky and whatever, you know. So called the lads. Back in the 90s, there was a lot of Irish, Scottish fellas living in my area where I come from now, North Wildwood, New Jersey. So, and a lot of older Scottish fellas that were living in my area, some with connections to Celtic, especially a guy called Jerry McFarlane and a fella called Jim Harvey. Jim actually played for Falkirk way back in the 70s and emigrated over here. And Jerry McFarlane played for Celtic, a lot of the youth teams, and then emigrated to Canada and then come down to things. So we had a little wee bit of a Celtic connection, you know. And then with the younger lads, and it was great. It was a good time. It was, you know, it was free. It was on the TV. It got us together, you know. It was great.
Okay, and what does it mean for you guys to have a community like this? Because it's like we're in Philly. We're nowhere near Glasgow, and the entire place is packed full of Celtic fans.
I mean, it's amazing. It's great. I mean, you can see like today or just this weekend for our 10th anniversary, you got people from all over the world. It just goes to show how like truly global a club Celtic is, and it's just great to have that community. I come here every week to watch the game. Like you said, even if we don't have much else in common, we have Celtic in common, and you know, it's great to have a community just go and hang out with the boys and watch the game, and it's there's great camaraderie. So yeah.
What about, do you come here for every game?
Most
games?
Mostly every game, yeah.
Wow.
Usually most of the weekend games, when we have a fixture during the week, it's a little tougher to get here, but most weekend games, absolutely, yes.
Okay, what do you think of the current team? I mean, who do you enjoy watching in the team?
I immediately fell in love with Jota right away. I started watching in October of last year, and I first got to see him in a game against Motherwell, and I was like, who is that guy? Who is that guy blazing down the left side of the field, creating for other guys? I knew nothing from nothing. I started watching soccer as I started watching Celtic, and I was immediately attracted to his style of play. So that was the one that I connected with the most.
It's been men, it's been women, it's been older people, it's been younger people like me, bringing the age down a little bit. It's been people from America, from Canada, people from Scotland, people from Ireland who live out here now, people like me who have come all the way from Scotland over. It's really been a mix of people, a lot of Irish accents, some Scottish accents, probably even more American accents than anything, and it really has been pretty special, and it genuinely has opened my eyes to, I think, a lot of people who probably watch the channel and probably at times worried that they would feel distant from the club, but there's just Celtic supporters clubs all over the world, and it really is kind of times like this when you're in Philadelphia on Super Bowl weekend and there's a pub full of people not wearing Eagle shirts but wearing Celtic shirts. It kind of reminds you it is a pretty mega club that we have, and as I think Joe was saying in one of the clips there, maybe Celtic don't realise that sometimes. I think Ange certainly does, given his background, etc. but maybe Celtic as a club generally don't enough sometimes. So many people I could try and thank here, so apologies if I don't mention your name. Just briefly, Chris, Eddie, John Joe, Seamus, the owners of the Plough and the Star, the guys from the Jockstein Memorial CSC in Hamilton, Canada, who gave me the scarf that featured on yesterday's video, lovely guys. Johnny Vaughan, who owns Vaughan's Public House in Connecticut, chatting to him loads over the weekend. He watches the channel as well, so if you're ever in Connecticut, check out Vaughan's Public House. So many other people that have spoken to me that I couldn't even mention. Everyone has been so lovely to me, really made me feel at home coming all this way, and you know, I'm glad the channel makes all of you feel a little bit closer to Celtic as well. Hopefully that's the case anyway. What else? I did have a pizza called the Big Ange. I guess that their motto would be "We do and stop." I'm going to ice hockey later on. We're then going to try and find a bar to watch the Super Bowl. I'm then away to New York for a few days, so we will resume things late next week. We will have a video actually going out before then, tomorrow, that I recorded before I went. So yeah, take care everyone. I'll speak to you very soon.